Okay, sorry for the interruption there. Let's see, what was I talking about? Dry creek bed. So here I've modified my contours to conform to to create this dry creek bed. Okay, so this, maybe we set a couple boulders up here. Okay. And then this dry creek bed, it needs to look natural, so you do need some sort of indent here. Okay, you see them a lot where they just like dump rocks on the ground. Sure, like you're creating a dry creek bed, but if you want to make it look natural, you do need that that modification of the contour. So it does look like a creek goes through there. And then the other thing, just like with this little ditty here, right? If we look at this, obviously, which direction would that water be flowing? It would be flowing this way. Okay, so this would be dry creek bed, or this could be a vegetated swale. Okay, so you dig these in. Okay, I do like to, if I'm doing some sort of like directional flow, okay, instead of just like a straight line shot, I always think that water needs like something to make it move, right? For it to go around. So this big rock might be the thing that made it move. Okay, and then we probably need another large rock here. Okay, and then a couple like supplemental rocks. Okay, so this is grade modification. The only other piece that I'd want to look at here is like we do have an issue here. If we've got 99 feet and it's sloping this way, right? We do have water that like looks like it's going right towards the house. Okay, so it's like flowing down here. It is hitting the house and then flowing out this way, but we like to direct that water away. So maybe we could sort of emulate what's happening here, and we get some modification to this grade. Let's not emulate this. It's going to get too damn busy. Okay, so what we're going to do here is we're just going to modify this contour line to make it so that the water actually flows away from the house. In order to do that, we're not going to change where it hits the house. What we are going to do, though, is we're going to change the direction of that flow. Okay, right now this water is flowing perpendicular to these contour lines. So if you took a hose and poured a bunch of water right here, it's going to be going this direction. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to modify this so that it goes away from the house, right? And so modifying this contour line, we're going to bring it out like that. Now that looks pretty ugly, doesn't it? And all of a sudden we're forced into a dry creek bed. Whoops. Okay, we're not going to talk about the design of this thing or how it ended up this way, but we're trying to get water to come through here. Whole point being that we needed to change this so that the water no longer flows towards the house. The water is flowing out this direction, okay? It's a lot, but this is contour modification. And I guess the only other thing that I didn't point out here is on these steps, right? We just put retaining walls here, okay? But if we hadn't put the retaining walls here and we just graded in the contour, again, if we put these retaining walls in here or these boulders in here, we don't need this heavy retention, okay? We just have to excavate enough to be able to build this thing, put some boulders in there, and then backfill against it, or put these retaining walls in here and backfill against it. You can do either boulders or some sort of retention, okay? But if we weren't to do any of these retaining walls or the boulders, then what we would end up with is exposed edge of step here. Okay, so you're going to see some exposed vertical facing on the side of these steps. So you want to be sure that you're addressing those from a detail standpoint if you are going to have them exposed and modify these contours. So that means that if you are just going to do concrete through here, then you should plan that the the concrete finishers and make sure that this actually gets finished, because you will see this and you don't want to see like the imprint of a board or some sort of sloppy work on this and this side. And a good way to like indicate that is just on the plan notes to be able to say all vertical exposed concrete to be finished to a minimum of 2 inches below finish grade. Okay, and don't assume that if you put that on the note that gets translated to actually happening. Make sure whoever's building this, if it's you, remember, if somebody else is building it for you, make sure that they saw that note and they understand what it means, and check the forms before they actually get installed. Otherwise, you're going to have to like cover the ugly up with some plants that maybe you hadn't intended on using. Okay, so that is it for this one. This shows how to do this one. I want you can either replicate this exact same thing, or you can do it differently. You're welcome to do it however you want. But what I am going to expect out of you is some sort of dry creek bed. Okay, or it could be a vegetated swale, right? If this was a vegetated swale, then we'd probably have a bunch of monocots in here, and then some shrubs. Okay. So, or it's indicated with boulders. Okay, one way I like to kind of draw boulders is I go around a little bit sloppy a couple times, okay, to try and give a rough edge to it, and then usually I'll throw like a little interior, okay, almost treating them like contour lines. Okay, so that would maybe indicate that this is the total like plan view mass of it, but this side is a little bit higher than this side. Okay, just go around a couple times, rough up the edges a little bit, and same thing, give it an extra contour and then extra sort of offset contour line there. That's typically how I address them. Okay, and you can fluff them up however you like. Okay, but anyways, so give an entry walk with landing, follow the rules, okay, 15-inch treads, 15-inch treads. Just go with 6-inch rises. You don't have to worry about doing the formula. Keep it simple. Just get this entry walk in here and do this afterwards, wherever these do end up. Make sure that you get this contour break in here, or this change of contour line in here. Okay, this was our 97-foot mark. Here's our 97-foot contour. Okay, so the 97 feet is no longer out here once we've modified this. This 97 feet would come in here, dive right through leading edge of all this, match up with finish grade, and then wrap through here. Okay, and that's it. Don't get frustrated. The contour lines are challenging. They're challenging to manipulate. They're challenging to visualize. But understanding them is really important. Most new homes are built relatively flat, right? Relatively flat lots. However, the front entry in pretty much all new homes are graded relatively steep to the street. Typically, like what I'm seeing is about 3 feet to the street within a narrow like span of space. In this case, I think here to here we got like 21 feet. So this is probably like 28 is my guess, 28 feet, which is rare in like our newer homes, which is a lot of what you guys are going to be designing for at least the first 5 years of your career. And depending on how your career shapes up in landscape design, you may always be designing those. I know I always will, because I'll take small jobs, I take big jobs. I don't really care as long as somebody pays me. But doing this elegantly is really important. And so this is something you need to get the grasp of. And please do understand that, if you modify where steps go, then you are going to have to modify contours and modify grades. Understanding how to do that is really important. And once you get into larger and more complex projects that have, several acres and a lot of different contours and grades to deal with, you do need to know how to manipulate this and what it means. We're not going to go there. in this class. When you get to that point, you will learn how to do it. And this is actually trickier than dealing with those larger projects because you're dealing with such a small space. Okay, I hope that helps. So you are going to have to do this project 1. It will be loaded. And then you are also going to have to take on the project 2. Okay, so similar situation. Okay, same old thing. Okay, same as the entry steps project 2. This one's entry steps plus contour lines project 2. And you will notice that the contour lines are a lot different. Okay, in the previous one we had kind of a peninsula situation. In this one we have this really light in-cut contour going up to this whole thing. Okay, a little bit abnormal. Now, remember the requirements on this one. You cannot grade or install hardscape within 5 feet of the base of this tree, right? So wherever the heck that line ended up. Okay, can't change that. And we are horticulture people, and so we do like trees, and we cannot change the elevation of the base of this tree, right? So we do have to work around a couple things. And one thing you can notice here, 98-foot contour. This 98-foot contour runs right through this. So the base of this tree, if we were to draw in a spot elevation, is 98 feet. Okay. We still have the same elevation change. We're going to need the same amount of steps. So that should hopefully make it easier because you don't have to think so much as, based on the change from the entry steps and contour lines project 1 to this one, same amount of steps, but different conditions. Okay. So most important thing on this one is going to be getting your entry walk in. And once that's, well, you know what? Let's just get the entry walk in, okay? Make it work. If you can think beyond that design-wise, there's some opportunities here, which I'll talk about in the next module that I'll upload. But for now, I want you guys to make sure that it works, okay? Just focus on that, make it work, modify the contour lines accordingly. Obviously, we can't modify the contour where they hit the property line. Okay, we're not changing out the driveway, so this doesn't change, this doesn't change, this doesn't change, this doesn't change. And you can't change anything within this space here. Okay, 5-foot mark off of here. Okay, so this contour line right here needs to be maintained. Outside of that is where you can modify it. Okay, so do your best. You could take just what you had done on the previous one and make modifications to conform to having to jog around this piece being the tree. Okay, so on this one, same thing. I'm going to want to see entry walk, landing. Don't bring your steps right off of the a sidewalk here. Come in at least 3 feet. In the previous one, I did 4 feet. And get yourself an auxiliary walk going to the driveway. Okay, spot elevations where you need to write them for your own edification, but just all I want to see is the entry walk, follow the rules, and then modify the contours accordingly for where they land. Okay, and I think that's good for today. Sorry it's been so long since I've gotten onto this, and it takes a fair amount of time to do these things. So anyways, hope you're all well, and shoot me off questions if you got them. Thanks.